Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we take financial documents and figure out what is really going on behind all the corporate jargon. This latest report from FTAI Aviation Limited has some truly wild swings and some eye-popping numbers that we need to dig into. Get ready, because we are about to decode a financial story that reads more like a roller coaster than a steady flight plan. And hey, before we dive deep, if you love getting the real scoop behind corporate filings, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We also have a Discord community linked below where we break down these documents even further. Come join the conversation. Alright, let's get straight into it. FTAI Aviation Limited. They are in the business of aircraft engines and leasing. Think of them as a big service provider for the aviation world, repairing engines and leasing out planes and parts. They've gone through some significant changes lately, including bringing their management in-house, which they say will save them money. The big story here, though, has to be their massive jump in revenue, especially from their engine repair and sales side. Their total revenue shot up by a whopping $772.5英里 line dollars from 2024 to 2025. That's a huge leap. A big chunk of that, 520.6英里 line dollars to be exact, came from selling and repairing CFM 56 and VIC 500 engines and their parts. This segment seems to be absolutely booming for them. Added to that, they launched a new type of revenue called MRE, contract revenue, bringing in another 772.5 lion dollars. Mostly from selling engines and parts to a new partnership they formed called the 2025 partnership. On the flip side, their asset sales revenue dropped by 85.2 lion dollars, mainly because they sold fewer engines this past year compared to the year before. Looking specifically at their aerospace product segment, which is where all that engine action happens, their revenue increased by a massive $856.4 million when comparing 2025 to 2024 results. Seriously, that's nearly a doubling of revenue in that segment. It shows their strategy of expanding their repair and manufacturing capabilities. Like buying Lockheed Martin Commercial Engine Solutions is really paying off. They're not just fixing engines anymore, they are building them and selling them on a much larger scale. Now, their aviation leasing segment, where they own and manage planes and engines, saw a decrease in total revenue by about $57.3 million. This is mainly because they sold off a lot of assets, specifically 45 aircraft, to that same 2025 partnership, which brought in a nice gain of $46.4 million. But reduced their overall leasing revenue. They also saw a dip in asset sales revenue, again because they sold fewer items than the previous year. So it looks like they are shifting focus from just owning and leasing planes to a more asset-light model, especially by managing third-party money through their new strategic capital initiative. And get this, the outcome of all this, their net income attributable to shareholders went from a loss of $32 million in 2024 to a profit of nearly $477.5 million in 2025. That's a dramatic turnaround, moving from the red to the black in a very big way. This huge jump is directly tied to that explosion in aerospace products revenue. Their adjusted EBITDA, a measure of their operating performance without certain expenses, also saw a significant increase, going from $862 million in 2024 to over $1.19 billion in 2025. This shows their core business operations are becoming much more profitable. Let's talk about their debt situation. As of the 31st of December 2025, they had nothing outstanding on their revolving credit facility. This is a good sign, showing they are managing their short-term borrowing needs well, possibly because they generated so much cash from their operations and asset sales. It's interesting to see that their revolving credit facility requires a quarterly commitment fee on the unused portion. This means even if they aren't borrowing money directly from it, they are still paying a small price to keep that borrowing power available. They have considerable amounts of debt in the form of senior notes due in later years. For example, the senior notes due 2028, which total over $1 billion in borrowings, or more precisely, $1,001,382 in borrowings. This shows they use a significant amount of debt to finance their operations and acquisitions. Now, an interesting note on acquisitions. When they bought Lockheed Martin Commercial Engine Solutions, they recorded over $71 million in goodwill. Goodwill is basically the premium they paid for the acquisition, often reflecting the value of things like brand name, customer lists, and skilled employees that aren't separately listed on the balance sheet. It is a big number, suggesting they saw significant strategic value in that purchase. Looking at their intangible assets and liabilities, they have a net asset of over $8.3 million from acquired favorable leases. This represents the estimated value of leases they acquired that are more profitable than current market rates. This is a positive sign showing they are making smart acquisitions in the leasing space. If we glance at their balance sheet, their total assets grew from about $4 billion in 2024 to over $4.3 billion in 2025. However, their total equity actually decreased slightly from about $81.4 million to $334.2 million. This might seem concerning at first, but it's largely due to how they account for preferred shares and retained earnings. Their net income in 2025 significantly boosted their retained earnings, which was heavily negative in 2024. Essentially, their net income turned a big deficit into a substantial positive number, which is a very strong indicator of improved financial health. Now, let's talk about the risks. FTAI Aviation acknowledges quite a few. They're worried about economic slowdowns impacting air travel demand, customers defaulting on payments, and not being able to renew leases. They also mention the risks associated with their strategic capital initiative, where they manage other people's money. This initiative could face market risks, liquidity issues, and potential conflicts of interest. They are also exposed to geopolitical events, cybersecurity threats, and environmental regulations. It's a pretty comprehensive list of potential challenges. One of their main concerns is the uncertainty relating to macroeconomic conditions, particularly those affecting the commercial aviation industry. This means if the global economy takes a hit, demand for their services could drop, leading to less business for them. They specifically mention the Russia-Ukraine conflict as a factor contributing to this uncertainty. The auditors, KPMG LLP, gave them a clean bill of health for 2025, stating the financial statements present fairly, and that their internal controls over financial reporting were effective. This is exactly what you want to see from an auditor. Looking at their income statement, the total revenue just jumped by $772.5 million in 2025. That is a massive increase, driven largely by their aerospace product segment, which saw its revenue surge by over $500 million. This segment is clearly their growth engine right now, and the bottom line, net income attributable to shareholders, went from a loss of $32 million in 2024 to a profit of over $477 million in 2025. This massive swing is a clear indication of a highly successful year, primarily thanks to the booming aerospace products business. The company's direction seems to be a strong shift towards their engine maintenance and manufacturing capabilities, which are clearly driving significant growth and profitability. They are successfully leveraging acquisitions to build out this segment. The aviation leasing segment has seen a revenue decline, but this appears to be a deliberate strategic choice to move towards a more asset-light model through their strategic capital initiative. This move, while reducing direct asset ownership, generates fees and involves substantial third-party capital, which can be a more scalable way to grow. However, the risks they've outlined are real. The aviation industry is sensitive to economic downturns and geopolitical instability. Their reliance on customer performance for lease payments and the potential for defaults remain a constant concern. The strategic capital initiative, while promising, introduces new layers of complexity and potential conflicts that will require careful management. So, what is the verdict? FTAI Aviation Limited has had a phenomenal year, turning a significant loss into a substantial profit, largely due to a booming engine repair and sales business. They are actively reshaping their business model, moving towards asset management and fee-based services, which could be a smart long-term play. However, the economic and geopolitical headwinds they face are considerable, and their success will depend on navigating these challenges while effectively managing their new partnerships and strategic initiatives. It's a company in transition, and while the financial results for 2025 are impressive, the focus will be on maintaining this momentum and managing the associated risks. What do you think about FTAI Aviation's strategy and their impressive leap in profitability? Drop your insights in the comments below. If you found this breakdown valuable, give this video a thumbs up. It really helps us out, and subscribe for more deep dives into the world of corporate finance. And don't forget to join our Discord community for more in-depth discussions. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next Decode.